So on most cases, you might find that you find the learners are learning something like backend and they want to know how they can use AI. So we bring an expert to come into the session and take the learners through the AI part, while our instructor actually shows them the backend side of the system. So we're really excited to have this session, and it's one of many that we continuously want to do constantly, to focus on building the skills of learners, both mentally and also in class. So it's not just about getting the technical skill, is how are you able to apply this technical skill beyond Power Learn project. When you go out there, are you able to make some money or income from what you have learned, or are you able to share the skill with someone else and build yourself? So back to you, Annabelle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. It's great to see some of the initiatives that you have set up to ensure that learning is easy and encouraging people to go through the online courses. So you know that the dropout rate during online courses is quite high, and us encouraging engagement and other is someone says my voice is too low. Can you hear me? Is
Yes, I
it
can
okay?
hear you.
Okay. Maybe it could be or your volume on your side, Zion. Yeah. So encouraging the learners to complete their courses and ensuring that they come out of it with more than just one skill. Also, in terms of doing the program, I don't think we had mentioned it's a scholarship basis and it goes on for 16 weeks. We are just about to start our May, June cohort in that sense, with the orientation on Saturday. So in case you also have, oh, they say I sound a bit soft. Is it just, am I audible? Or is it slow still?
I think you said the volume.
What about now? Okay. I think everyone can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're clear, but you can maybe add the volume a bit, make it a bit louder.
Okay, let me try. Yes, so I hope this is better now. Okay. Thank you guys. So yeah, it's a scholarship basis. It goes on for 16 weeks, and we usually just take in everyone who's above 18. There's a small test that they do to get qualified, but ideally it's a beginner-friendly course in that sense. So, and while we are here, I'm gonna let Janet Chesang introduce herself. She is one of our speakers today, and she will be taking us through tips and tricks about getting into remote work. Janet, are you able to say hi to everyone? And then Cliff, you'll introduce yourself, then we start.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Annabelle. My name is Janet Chesang. I am an AWS Restart trainer and a freelance cloud engineer with some of the popular work platforms. Yeah, for now, that's what I do. Thank you, Annabelle.
Thank you so much, Janet. So I mentioned that I will tell you a funny story about Janet and I. When I was getting into employment, Janet is actually one of the people who trained me into getting digital skills, and she's really good. She's actually the one who made me go into digital marketing. So I am certain that we're going to learn quite a bit from this session. Next is Cliff Orina, who also happens to be part of the program that I went to. Cliff, please say hi to everyone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cliff Orina. As Annabella said, I am part of a program almost similar to PLP. It's called a Jira Digital Program, work there as a regional coordinator, but for purposes of this evening engagement, I'm also a remote work expert. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So, Susan, you can go to the next slide just so that we can see Janet and Cliff. We can keep alternating between the two so that people familiarize with the voice that's behind the presentation. So the masterclass today is one that's gonna be geared towards the software developers in our program, how they can get into remote work, and also some of the tips that the experts have learned in their careers. So I'll start with you, Cliff, just because you are the last one to speak. How did you get into remote work, and maybe a little bit of a background on your career as a remote expert?
Thank you. That's a good point to start from. I first learned about remote work way back while I was in campus through various forums for people who are engaged in the subject matter. And I got to it as a third party working for somebody in writing. Basically, it was academic writing. And then it died after that because I engaged in other activities after campus. But much later, when I got engaged as a center manager at Ajira Digital, I got exposed to numerous opportunities for training properly and also for remote work. So I began my official journey in online work as a writer, and I specialized in tech writing. And through the journey, it's been quite a bit of a learning. I developed into a web developer. I also specialize in cybersecurity, and my writing and tech hasn't died. I'm still a tech writer. Lately, I have been more biased towards the web development bit, and that has been what I do a lot.
Okay, thank you, Cliff. I think personally, I'll reach out just to hear more about what being a tech writer means, and also how this can be part of my career. And Janet, how did you get into remote work, and what some of the areas that you are currently focusing on? I know you said cloud tech, but yes, anything about remote work and how you found yourself here?
Okay, how I found myself there. First, I learned about remote work through the Ajira Digital Training Program. That was in the year 2019. And initially, I started as a writer. And it's a coincidence that myself and Cliff almost started from the same area of writing. And most people always assume it is academic writing. That's where some people who are in college or campus start from. That's where I started before I moved to technical writing. And after some time, I developed interest in digital marketing. So I'll run some social media platforms for clients remotely. And then with time, I acquired the cloud computing skills. And that is where I'm currently in. And I use cloud computing skills in the online work platforms. Yeah, and the good news is Ajira still offers the trainings, and you can book a training with Ajira from their website, that is www.ajiradigital.go.ke, and it is absolutely free. So that's a point you cannot and also get started from. Back to you, Annabelle.
Thank you. And both you and Cliff have mentioned about tech writing. what's the difference between, and maybe either you or Cliff could go answer, what's the difference between tech writing and academic writing for anyone who would want to know about the two?
I think I'd explain especially what academic writing is, and a bit about tech writing. Janet will expand on the tech writing. Academic writing, and that is what we used to do a lot. Most students do it a lot while in campus, and even after. It involves assisting students from other jurisdictions with academic work. So if they have a research paper they're supposed to do, they outsource to other people to help them do it. I have to also say that in many jurisdictions across the world, academic writing is not legal, including in our country. And so that's the reason for writing in campus or in a number of people being an underworld. You cannot be told exactly the platforms, exactly what it involves. They'll just tell you they are doing writing. So academic writing is in a shadow, but it is done and pays people quite well. Tech writing is a legally accepted field of writing, and therefore it involves, and by saying tech writing, you could mean two things. Could mean technical writer or technological articles. You be writing about things to do with tech. So what I meant is just a sub section of the technical writing that is called technology related writing. And that would involve you coming up with articles, journals that revolve around technology. So in the field of technology, it's wide and broad. It would involve anything and everything that is in the world of technology. But generally, writing, with the exception of academic writing, is legal and allowed in almost all jurisdictions around the world.
Okay. I see people already asking how the skills needed to get into cloud computing. I think that's geared to you, Janet. We will definitely answer this at the end of the event. I think most people would want to know how to build their portfolio. They're new into software development. They want to get into remote work. Where do they start? Are there any platforms that they can get into? How did you start getting clients remotely? Janet, you may take this.
Okay, so there are quite a number of online work platforms, and every day there's a new platform coming up. So where I started on Upwork, which is a bid account. Later, I moved to Fiverr, which is not a bid account, and there's a reason why at this point I prefer to work with non-bid accounts. So I'm going to categorize these into two. If you have the technical skills, you can choose to start from freelance platforms, but get short-term based jobs, short contracts, or project and search freelancing platforms. I'm sure Upwork is going to come up, or Fiverr, Freelance, Total. They work, and it's true. You know, sometimes people think that online work is a scam. It is not. The skills that you have, you're going to get paid. So that is on the part of freelance platforms, short-term jobs, or project-based. But
Janet, I think it could be your Wi-Fi. We are missing bits of what you're saying.
I think I lost my internet. Where did I lose you guys?
You were naming the applications. You had named Upwork and Fiverr, and you are explaining about if you have technical skills. And Daniel says maybe you could write. Yes, we will do this as we continue the masterclass.
So Annabelle, am I back? I hope
Yes,
my internet is
now,
stable.
now you're back.
Okay, if we get another problem, I'll just get some 30 seconds to change my connection, if that is okay.
Yes, that's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so I was looking at freelance platforms, and I mentioned two categories: the freelance platforms that offer short-term jobs, project-based work. And if you're looking to get full-time or long-term or actual jobs remotely, you can look at platforms such as Crossover, FlexJobs, Arc. Though with this platform, it may involve some bit of interviews, and it's a rigorous process, recruitment process. You have to take an assessment, you have to take an English test, you have to go through multiple interviews. But once you get a job, you get a job. It could be long-term, 3 years. Yeah, that is the benefit of it compared to freelance platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, Freelancer, Guru, Total, where you can just get short-term projects. Yeah. But myself, I started with Upwork and Fiverr. Back to you, Annabelle.
Thank you, Janet. Maybe you can write some of this in the chat as we head to Cliff. What are there any platforms that you prefer, especially for young software developers? And have you managed to use any of these?
Thank you, Nobel. I also wanted to mention the very important bit that Janet has talked about, that as a person who is starting in the remote job space, you're basically sometimes not able to find as much work as possible because you do not have that portfolio that you are talking about, creating it through small short-time jobs. I always advocate, and it is a practice that helps a lot, that as now the group that is here, junior developers, you can build your portfolio by working on personal projects. You are contributing to open source projects, but participating in hackathons. Then you highlight these projects along with any internships or freelance work, something that can demonstrate your skills. It's also important to, like when Janet talks about Upwork, whenever you are highlighting this as part of your portfolio, it's important to include detailed descriptions and the tools and the technologies that you used to get the work done, challenges that you overcame during the project. It is important, as opposed to somebody who has a track record of work as their portfolio. You coming in as a newbie and using part of your own practice as your portfolio, those explanations will be very important for a client to get to be convinced that you are able to overcome their problems. Again, because here we're talking to a number of people who are developers, creating a personal website or a blog to showcase your projects and sharing insights about your learning journey can also be very effective in getting you clients. They'll use that as your portfolio. If you are consistent in doing that, be sure that a number of people will notice that profile and pick out that your portfolio. So it's sometimes a question that new people ask. I've not been able to get work in the remote space. How then do I show my portfolio? I hope you got that. But back to the question that you asked, any other platforms that developers can get work? Some of the best online platforms for finding remote developer jobs include, surprisingly, LinkedIn. There is a platform called Indeed. There's GitHub Jobs, Stack Overflow Jobs, and there are also more specialized sites like Remote OK. We work remotely. And there is also another one that is called AngelList. I have quite a bit of experience with a number of them, especially GitHub. And if you are somebody who is starting out, your profile on GitHub must be something that you work on properly. Then you'll be exposing yourself to meeting a lot of clients. It's also important to network with tech communities on platforms such as X, participating in things like hackathons and tech webinars. Those are the places, apart from the platforms, there is also another section where you find a lot of clients who will be sourcing for your knowledge. And that is direct engagement. Janet will call you, we'll tell you, we call them direct clients. And that also is a huge other section where we source for jobs, and you cannot categorize them as any platform, but where to find them, it is those hackathons. When you participate and you get highlighted in those hackathons, when you participate in tech webinars, and any platforms where remote work opportunities are discussed. As a newbie, those are areas that you should always be found. Back to you, Annabelle.
Thank you, Cliff. And I think one of the key things that you've mentioned is LinkedIn. There are so many areas that people can maximize on LinkedIn. And I think just being able to look for the type of work that you want. So it's more about the power being on your side as a developer, and even you looking for clients on some of these websites. So I think it's so important that in this day and age, you are able to choose who you actually want to work for. And speaking of working for someone, what are some of the specific skills and qualities that maybe the clients or the employers look for when they start to hire remote work developers? Maybe we can go to Janet and then you, Cliff.
Okay, so the specific skills you require or what employers are looking for And I'm going to mention 3 of them, which I think is very essential for freelancers and remote workers. One is reliability and communication skills, very important. This is essential for remote workers as nobody is there to follow you up. You may probably never meet your employer in person, but you have to know how to engage them. How do you communicate? It is important to provide constant updates on the project you're working on so that you don't be that one person who's always being followed up. Like a client is always asking, hey, where are you at? Have you completed the phase 1 of the project? When are you expecting to finish this project? No, you should be the one who's offering constant updates to the person who has hired you. Also, are you reliable? Because I know for remote work, at some point you'll have to work with diverse clients from different regions, different time zones. If a client contacts you at midnight, will you respond? Do you address their issues promptly? Are you the one person who can be dependable and consistently deliver high quality work on time without being followed? Are you that kind of a person? Reliability and communication skills? Then that is one of the skills, very important. I've experienced clients who you work with for the first time and they never get to you again because maybe the first experience was not that good. They will follow you up the next time you have not completed the job on time or you're not very good at observing deadlines. That is one common mistake. Another one for software developers, because I know I'm speaking to developers, having a strong foundation in programming languages is relevant. Yeah, it is good to have that title of a developer, but it's also good to showcase that you can do it. I know sometimes when you work with remote clients, if you're very good with communication, you can easily win a client because you know how to convince. That is also a talent. But can you actually do the work? Can you solve a problem? That is the question. So have the skills, the hard skills, very necessary. Then last, there's so many, but these are the 3 I find very essential. Problem solving skills and curiosity. So the ability to identify, analyze, solve problems independently. Because remember, you'll be working alone. You're a remote worker. You're working with a client who's miles away. So in case of a challenge, are you able to identify, analyze, and solve a problem? Yeah, that is it. Are you curious? You encountered a challenge. Did you find a way of solving that challenge? Did you get a point of learning new technologies? Yeah. When at some point in life, I also tried software development and I started with web development. And by then I used the framework known as Bootstrap. I don't know if it's still in existence, but these days I hear there's React. I don't know, there's Flutter. So are you always curious to learn new technologies? If a client has something that needs to be done, are you able to advise that client, hey, we can use this because it has these benefits? Of course, you cannot have that answer if you're not a curious person or you don't have that mentality of always solving a problem. Yeah, the 3, I find them very essential. Yes, Annabelle, back to you.
Thank you, Janet. And just based on what you've said, you started with software development at some point. So how did you get into cloud computing? And someone is asking, what are some of the skills that they can gain to get into cloud computing? And what is cloud computing all about even?
What is cloud computing? So cloud computing is basically renting servers. We have data centers on premise, but sometimes because of the advantages we have with cloud computing, that could be economies of scale, pay-as-you-go model, scalability where you're able to scale because you don't own the infrastructure. So basically renting servers. It could be from non-service providers such as Amazon Web Services, it could be Microsoft Azure, it could be Google Cloud or Oracle, all that. So what does it take for you to start a career in cloud computing? If you have basic IT skills, then I can say you could, if you know a bit of networking, if you know a bit of programming, because at some point you'll have to automate some tasks in the cloud. If you also understand databases, yeah, because at some point you'll also have to work with databases in the cloud. So having a bit of a background in IT is good, but it doesn't mean that somebody cannot completely transition. If you're maybe in the finance field or account or health, of course, it's going to take you some time to understand concepts such as networking, what is a server, what is a computer, all that. But if you're ready, willing to learn, you can easily move to that space. I don't know if I've answered that comprehensively.
Yes, you've done a great job. In case the but I think they only asked it as anonymous. In case they still have more questions, please use the question and answer area. Janet will be able to answer some more about cloud computing. You know, for some of us who are not techies, that was a lot of jargon, but worry not, we are here to learn and we will gain as much as we can, even even when they sound like experts and we are not. And I think it's you, Cliff, who talked about how to maximize on LinkedIn and Indeed. Sharon Acheng says uh, she's uploaded and submitted her CV, but she hasn't been able to do it. She hasn't been able to get any job yet. Maybe you could touch on that as you mentioned some of the skills that you have seen the remote workers do in their as they gain their roles in that industry per se.
You need to be purposeful when you're positioning yourself to learn remote work, and in this case, as a developer. Number one is that you need to be online with a purpose, building a strong online presence. Number one, in that your LinkedIn account, you need to create an online portfolio that showcases some of the projects you've undertaken. You see, you might be on LinkedIn, but you keep just posting about your travels. But if somebody, just by going through your profile, can be able to pick out that you have been able to accomplish some projects that are relevant to what they want, that is already a plus. There are things like contributions to open source and any freelance work that you are able to do, let them appear in your LinkedIn account. You need to, because you can usually link your GitHub account to LinkedIn to help just demonstrate your code coding quality. That is very important. The LinkedIn profile must also be complete and up to date with a professional photo, detailed work experience, and relevant skills. Now, if just by a glance, if somebody checks your profile, are they able to pick a line of what you are able to do? And it needs to be detailed. We said if you have not been able to do professional work, that you've been engaged by somebody as a new person, I talked about you engaging in your own projects, okay? Sometimes also participating in open source project. That means nobody is really going to pay you, but you will accomplish something. that will then suffice as you start for your work experience. As developers, again, getting your personal website, even a basic one, is not a very tall order. So you can consider creating a personal website that includes your resume, a portfolio again, and a blog if applicable, and contact information. And this also can be linked back to your LinkedIn. Remember what we talked about, what you can be doing with your blog on a regular basis to help showcase again your capabilities, your interests, your things that you are able to accomplish in a particular field. Again, because somewhere they have talked about a resume, as you are doing that resume, you need to tailor it to emphasize your remote work experience, your technical skills, key achievements. You see, you need to be able to show somebody who will be looking at it without you explaining your capability to create impact. And for this reason, you will not be able to attract a wide range of clients. You need to be, as I said, purposeful. If you are looking for remote work as a developer, everything that you do needs to be towards that side. You also need to demonstrate through your LinkedIn remote specific skills. Okay, there are specific skills that are required for remote work. Janet talked about communication, time management, self-discipline skills. And also on your LinkedIn, there are free courses that you can do that will affirm this. You will be endorsed as being able, for example, to do proper communication, but you can also seek professional endorsements. You could get people who are in this field to endorse you, for example, as a developer, and it appears on your LinkedIn account. That really will farm up that LinkedIn account to a level where you are able to basically appear in a lot of searches when employers or potential employers are looking for people in the field where you are. Annabelle, there was a second aspect to your question that I didn't get properly.
I was speaking and I was on mute. I think it was about some of the areas that they may be able to thrive in remote work. But I think you've mentioned LinkedIn and indeed it was in response to Sharon's question.
Great.
Yeah. And I think while we're here, maybe what are some of the areas that someone can improve on in terms of they're trying to get a remote job, but I think they keep having a challenge. I see a couple of questions about they've had accounts on Freelancer, or they've opened many accounts on Upwork, Fiverr, and Airtasker, but they've never gotten a job. Are there some tips that you may give them in terms of to improving their ratings on some of these websites?
The first hack usually is having a complete profile. Most of those profiles, and here we're talking about the platforms, the ones that Janet mentioned quite a few. I also mentioned some. They have a way to show you the percentage to which your profile is. So the first thing is it has to get to 100%. Then number two, you need to build a strong profile. As I have said, your profile must have or highlight your work experience, especially remote work experience, because the work that you're looking for in those platforms is remote work. So you must emphasize any previous remote work experience on your profile. And we said if that remote work experience you don't have, you're new, I gave solutions to overcome that. What will show in your profile under portfolio as work, because that is important. This part alone will cost you a number of clients, because almost 80–90% of clients who go to those platforms will check through. I wouldn't want to give work to somebody who I'm not sure can handle that work. And because I do not have a second chance at engaging this particular person, I must be sure through looking at their portfolio that they have had such previous experience. Then I'll be comfortable. So if you do not have a compelling or strong work experience or portfolio, you're already down. There are people who make very good portfolios and you will not be able to compete them on that in that space. Then you also need to showcase relevant skills. Focus on the skills that are crucial for remote work. Communication must appear as one of the skills that you are strong in. Time management, self-discipline, and familiarity with tools that are used for they're called collaboration tools, things like Slack, Zoom, Trello. There are a number. You need to also show that you are able to handle such tools. Also, a highlight on your profile technical skills that facilitate remote work, like proficiency with cloud-based software, things like cybersecurity awareness and digital literacy. At this point, I also would want to say that one of the things that also make a lot of people not be able to land remote work as soon as they would want is going into that space with just a single skill. Janet told you she started as a writer. I started as a writer as well. But with time, I can be able to offer quite a number of skill sets in the remote workspace. If you are able to be dynamic and you are willing to learn and learning continuously, then you will be having a lot of fronts where you can find work to do. But again, if you just decide that you are a developer and that is the only aspect, and maybe even in developing, even the programming languages you know maybe just a handful, you will find it a bit difficult, because with time, those markets also keep changing. You might find that there are a lot of experts in a particular area, and therefore competition will crowd out others. But if you have many more other skills, you'll continue finding work in so many other areas. So the technical skills that I've said you need to also showcase on your profile, they need to be multiple. And that calls for continuous learning so that you keep adding on to the skills that you are able to show on your profile. Recommendations and endorsements. Many of the online work platforms, and I also talked about it on LinkedIn, there is a way you can request for colleagues, professional colleagues, to endorse you or endorse your skills for particular areas. That is very important because as somebody looks at it on your profile, if your profile is 100%, you have quite a bit of portfolio, then a second person who you are competing with for the same job has the same profile as yours, but an addition of a recommendation that this particular person, out of experience, is able to handle this and that. The client will be more persuaded with the second expert. And so it is important that you seek to get these endorsements. A number of, almost all of these platforms, your profile will give you a way of getting endorsements. And if you are not sure how that is done, you can always reach out to us to assist in the particular platform where you want to build your profile or portfolio. You also need to have, because sometimes in remote work, we are not just talking about the online work platforms. Remote work sometimes can be offline work. How do I put it? It can be just a full-time engagement. The only difference is you are offering the services remotely. So you are a full-time employee of a company in the US. You're not working on an online work platform. You're working for that company, but not is like when you look at flex jobs, some of that type of and therefore that calls for your resume to be, as you are applying, you need to tailor make your resume for the remote job that you're applying. Customize your resume for to emphasize relevant experience and skills. Also use, because a number of companies nowadays use ATS, applicant tracking systems. So use keywords from their posting of the job, pick keywords from the job description for you to be able to pass through ATS. So in your resume, also highlight remote specific achievements. Your portfolio, this I will keep repeating, must stand out. A variety of work samples that you've done, creative creative ways of presenting that, like videos and interactive content. That will give you a better chance of getting noticed and landing that remote job. I think that suffices for what I think would be able to put you at a vantage point in landing a remote work position, both on platform and off platform. And when you are on the platforms, one thing I have to say is that the competition is double, because there are thousands of people across the globe, millions actually, who are searching for the same opportunities. So if you leave out even a single area that out of what I've talked about, then you'll be out of the competition. And that your other competitor will be having everything in their profiles set and just waiting. Back to you, Annabelle.
Thank you, Cliff. Those are so many points that you have given us. I see a couple of questions for you in the Q&A section. You may just need to type it out a little bit so that we keep time. And I'll go to Janet. I see also a couple of questions for you in terms of how do people get into cloud computing, and also just a moment, guys. And also, are there some of the other, what are some of the other areas apart from software development that people can get into in terms of remote work? I see there's definitely your version, cloud computing, but also what other areas can people explore? Might you know?
Okay, yes, Annabelle. But before we go to that question, there's something that is burning, and I think I should address, especially for the guys who said they've tried all the platforms and they don't get jobs. Maybe I can just give a tip, one or two of them. Is that okay?
Yes, that's okay. I also see Joel doing the Lord's work by typing out notes for people. So keep watching your chat. There are really key notes in there.
Okay. So if you've ever gone to Upwork or Fiverr, they're very competitive platforms. And it all comes to how you put yourself out there. As you understand Upwork, it's a bid account. That means a client has to post a job, and then you have to bid, you have to send a proposal. Now, I'm going to give an example because this is where we always find out that we don't get jobs. It starts with bidding. And also Cliff has mentioned some of them, like you don't have a complete profile. Your image looks the way it wants to look. You don't have a professional profile, yeah? But on bidding, I'm just going to give two examples. Supposing a client comes, and I'm going to use a cloud computing example. A client comes and he or she says that he wants somebody who's going to help him or her set up a server online, maybe with Amazon Web Services. Then there are maybe 30 proposals that have been sent. Yours is also included, it's also there. So let me give two examples of proposals. So one freelancer will come and say, hey, dear client, have seen what you've posted. For example, I have 10 years experience in cloud computing. I have a certificate in Amazon Web Services. I also have another certificate in Microsoft. I'm able to set up servers. That is somebody's proposal. I attended university. I did a computer science degree. That is one proposal. Then there's another proposal. Dear client, I have seen, I have understood your work. However, I have some questions for you. You want your server set up. Do we go ahead and use a Windows server, or do we use a Linux server? What platform will you prefer? What region do you prefer your resources to be hosted? In case of latency issues, are you looking at cost? Are you preferring a latency? Are you preferring cost over latency or latency over cost? Something of the sort. And then you send your proposal, yeah? Having raised those questions, then the client is going to get back to you because you raised up some questions. So that is first a trap. You're asking questions. That is making the client get back to you. There's that other freelancer who has listed down the number of certificates and the university they went to and the number of experience they have setting servers. Honestly, out of the two proposals, the client is going to pick which proposal? Definitely the second. First, it shows you understand what you're doing. Yes, you want a server setup. Then you go in with more information. What region? What type of server? Do you prefer cost over latency or latency over cost? Then definitely you learn that job. Otherwise, listing the number of certificates you have, surely, are you going to get a job? No. So it starts with bidding. Okay. Now I'll go back to the question that Annabelle asked of some of the career paths you can look at apart from software development. So there are quite a number, but I'll mention some that are related to development because I feel from now you cannot really drift away from what you have done. And I feel DevOps is a very good one. You can look at DevOps, where you don't have to focus really on writing code, but you work closely with developers so that you can help automate and streamline the process of building, testing, deploying, and maintaining software applications. Another one is AI, and as you all know, AI is being used in software development for tasks such as automating repetitive tasks and building machine learning models where you have to use a bit of your programming skills. Data analytics is also another good part. I've seen data managers and people in data use Python and R. So you can move from software development and just now go to data analytics and use some of those skills that you learned now for a different purpose. Then cloud computing, which is where I am right now. Of course, cloud computing provides infrastructure. That is server, storage, databases, all those resources for software developers. So we'll continue working with software developers. So these are the 4 areas I think you can go towards or have another career based on what you already have. Thank you, Annabelle.
Thank you. You've done such a great job explaining how to get into the other areas. Someone is still, Regan is still very interested in cloud computing and is asking if they need any prior knowledge in coding or computer languages to get into it.
Sorry, Annabelle, I missed that.
I was reading a question from Regan, who is still interested in getting into cloud computing, and they are asking whether they need any prior knowledge in coding or computer languages to get into cloud computing.
Okay, thank you. So with cloud computing, there are also specialities. If you already have a software development background, you can also go in as a cloud developer. But for some cases, specialties such as cloud engineer, you might not really need programming languages, but you need to learn Linux and how you're going to maintain, deploy, and automate services. Yeah. If you're looking at data analytics, of course, you're going to need a bit of Python. Yeah. But being a cloud engineer or working in the cloud space necessarily doesn't mean you have to know the programming languages, but it comes in handy, especially if you have a bit of programming languages, the skills in programming, especially Python. Yeah.
Thank you. And we have just a few more minutes before we start taking the questions from the guys on the call. I think one of the areas that we would love to touch on is how do we encourage anyone who is trying to get into remote work and they're struggling? I know we've already touched a bit on this, but is there any way that someone can maybe increase their ratings on the platforms? Some of the tips that to ensure they are one of the people actually rely on them to do the work.
So for guys who have tried setting up profiles and they were not very lucky, first, I like to tell you that don't give up. Starting might be a bit challenging, and that is also where I started. I got a bit of rejections, especially on Upwork, before I knew some of the tips on how I can get jobs. Even on Fiverr, I did. So rejections are a natural part of the job search process. You may bid for 10 jobs and get none. But keep the positive mindset and be persistent. The good thing with the remote jobs is once you get your first job, everything falls into place. Once you get your first rating, if it is a 5-star rating, all other clients are going to come to you based on that first rating. So actually, the challenge is just getting that first job. And that is the same thing that happened with me. It took me some time to get my first job, but I eventually did. And after I got, then there was a floodgate of remote jobs. Yeah. Also, I think Annabelle is somebody I can say is a success story from what I taught. Annabelle, I think I trained you a bit on Fiverr and you got a job. Is it right?
Yes, I did. I got a couple of jobs, and it was what held me throughout as I was looking for a job as well.
Yes. So for guys who are trying, just know the tricks of how to get a job. One is put yourself out there. If you're setting up a profile, let it stand out. If you're using an image, use a professional image on Fiverr. Because it is not a bid account, try to be as online as much as possible. Because a client will come in and try contact several freelancers. The first person to respond is going to get a job, yeah, because you're always online. Then put your gig, let it sell. There are common terms that sometimes I find they're not very good, yeah, where you just go on the internet, you write your profile using ChatGPT or using any other AI tool, and then there, straight copy paste, put it. Can you be creative in creating your profile and what you can do? And if you can do something, can you have a link that can show what you do? If you have developed a website, do you have your own portfolio that can show that? If you have done a job with a client, can you demonstrate that? Can you show that in your profile? So that when a client comes in, they're able to see there's a difference with this specific freelancer compared to the other 10 who bid or who have their gig online. Yeah. But don't give up, continue, just find a way to keep yourself, to make your gigs outstanding and catchy. And maybe at some point, if you ever get that time or chance, it's something I'm able to do to just train you on how to keep your profile attractive, what you can do, the tips and tricks, landing your first job. Yes. Back to you, Annabelle.
Thank you. I see a couple of people who want to get your social media handles. Both Cliff and Janet will be typing their LinkedIn or how you can get them on the chat, so you can watch out for that. Janet, a couple of questions for you on the section as well. The market, based on the market about cloud computing, how can people get employed by Amazon in cloud computing? So I think Janet will be typing some of these answers just so that we're able to move on. And I think this is to you, Cliff. The biggest question here is, are there any disparities in the compensation that different remote works have? And before we even get to compensation, how can young developers or junior developers prepare for some of these interviews that they'll get before they land a remote job that actually pays well? And what does it mean to pay well? Is it per hour, per job? Break it down for us a little bit.
Your question is loaded. Let me begin from
Okay. So maybe
how
you
to
could,
prepare.
yeah, you can, how to prepare to land a remote job and the compensation aspect of it.
Good. So purely this is for the audience that we have today. As developers, for you to prepare to face, for sometimes, it will get down to you your skills getting assessed. So in the earlier presentations, I think Janet did mention a few technical skills that you need to be having. If you are saying that you are a programmer, you want to be tested on your programming language of choice. Let's say you picked on Python. Are you able to solve, give a solution based on whatever the platform or the language that you've chosen? So you first need to prepare for technical coding challenges. There are platforms for practicing that. I think I need to type. I might not be. I saw somebody has a challenge with something I said, but there is Lit Code, there is HackerRank, and Code Signal. This will give you a chance to familiarize yourself with the common algorithms and data structures that are frequently assessed when you need to get some of those tasks, remote tasks in your field. You also need to simulate interviews, the interview environment, by timing your coding practice sessions and working on problem solving under pressure and trying to become better within short periods of time in solving a particular problem. That will help you to become better at what you do, and will be able to be of assistance when you're looking for a remote job. On the issue of how people are compensated, the payment, I think for most work that developers do, the option that would best work is being paid per hour, because there is per hour payment and per project. If you are building a certain, you're building code, it's not something that sometimes will take a short period of time. What it just means to pay you per hour is that they usually have a timer that you will be paid an agreed amount, a pre-agreed amount between you and your client for only the time that you'll be working on that project. So whenever you want to work on the project, the timer will be on. And this is on platform, because this is very difficult to do offline when you're working with direct clients and all that. Like direct clients, most of the time you will work with them per project. So you'll value a project and agree on a price. So what would maybe apply is a down payment, then you'll be paid at the end or at intervals that you've agreed. But on platform, there is a distinct way of measuring, and anytime that you're logged in to work on that project, the timer should be running so that it captures that time and does the necessary conversions, because it will calculate it based on your hourly rate agreement with your client. So on platform, if you're doing a project that takes quite a while and you go for payment um, at the end of the project, then sometimes you might experience a very long session of your work without getting pay and more than a week. It's good to have them paid. So that will give you motivation even to complete that project a bit on time. Then the other aspects that you asked, Annabelle, was which one is better? The one that is better will depend basically on the person who is doing the work. Because sometimes I might say that per hour rate is better if the job is taking long, but that is against what somebody else believes. Somebody else would believe that they want to complete the work fast, even if it takes a month, then they get the whole lump sum pay um, for the work. So it will, so long as you know the implication of choosing to be paid by project, that means at the end of that project or per hour, the decision basically will depend on the person doing the task. I don't know whether I've answered all the questions that you asked me.
Yes, you've answered, and I think even just ensuring that people know that they have the option to choose between per hour or per project, I think that's really great. And I see a couple of questions that people are wondering, and it actually summarizes some of the questions we prepared for today. um, do they need a university degree to be a remote worker? How is the market in terms of cloud computing? That's for you, Janet. And how can someone know that they are a good fit to be a remote worker? Um, what does it? I know we've talked about discipline and communication, but what is the greatest indicator for people to become remote workers? Maybe Cliff, and then Janet, you can take that question, as well as is it okay to be in remote work without a university degree, and the market for cloud computing as well.
Great. So let me take the one for how you would assess if you are a good fit for remote work. And you can assess this by evaluating just your level of self-discipline. You see, for you to work on projects day after day and working with deadlines, and sometimes you're running multiple projects, requires high level of discipline for you to beat the deadlines and still provide quality work. So you must assess. There are some people who cannot just sit continuously for even 2 hours. Their body will not allow them to do that. That is a straight disqualification, because you need to be having long hours of concentration. You also need to check on if you have the ability to manage your time effectively without somebody doing a direct supervision. What will supervise you is the load of work that you have. Then you are fit to venture into remote work. Reflect also on your communication style and your comfort level using digital communication tools. Though not a very serious thing, because this you can usually learn at the beginning, but it is very important to know how to communicate with your remote clients. Sometimes even that communication alone, how to write to your clients can disqualify you from getting projects. You also need to check on if you're proactive in reaching out and maintaining clear and consistent um, communication. So apart from the clarity in the communication, the aspect of reaching out and maintaining clear and consistent communication. Janet talked about your client should not be the one asking you whether you've reached with their project. You should be proactive in doing continuous communication with the client. So if you are one person, though this aspect is you can learn, but it is one that you cannot do without if you really need to be in remote work. Then additionally, there is the work-life balance. Are you able to be productive in such an environment? Number one, you will be mostly at home and also in seclusion for long hours. So if that is not your type of thing, if you do not have that type of concentration level, then probably remote work is not something that will work for you. You will miss a lot of deadlines, you will fail to impress clients, and basically your business will not move an inch. Back to you, Annabelle.
Thank you, Cliff. Janet, what does it take for someone to be a remote work, and how can they actually know they belong in this industry? And how is the market in terms of cloud computing? Does someone even need a university degree to go into it?
So how you can assess yourself? First, are you able to meet deadlines? Are you somebody who can easily get distracted? Because if you can easily get distracted, then probably you don't have the focus. Nobody follows you when it comes to remote work. And also communication is key. I'm going to share a link where you can just take an online test to determine if you can be a remote worker. So allow me to share that. So just take that test, it can take you 2 minutes. Then after that, you'll get the results. You know if you can really suit to be a remote worker. So when it comes to a university degree, in all honesty, for the many years I've been freelancing, nobody really cares if you even have a high school degree. It all comes to what you can do. I want a website. Can you develop a website? Yes. Do you have a past project that you have done as a reference? Yes or no? Yes. Then handle this task. If you have a university degree or not, really, it doesn't matter. For the some of the remote platforms as I've seen for software developers, they'll basically take you through an assessment, then a codility test, and then an interview. They can never say that you should have a university degree. So my answer to that, very brief, just be good in showing what you can do. What can you do? All that, it is enough. Then the cloud computing market. So in our country, Kenya, cloud computing has not been adopted very, very well compared to other continents. And that's where you find a lot of remote work. A lot of work is remote, but we still have companies that offer cloud computing jobs. So adoption in Africa is not very good. And that's why you can see actually some of the infrastructures of the best non-service providers, they're still not in Africa. But we are getting it up. Just the other day, Amazon had their first development center in Nairobi. Microsoft the other day just announced they want to set a data center in Naivasha. So we're slowly growing, and Kenyans are adopting into cloud computing. So that basically means that your skills are needed somewhere. And that's why there's a reason we have AWS Restart in Kenya. In all the countries in Africa, I think there are only 3 countries that is doing AWS Restart because there's potential. Our market is going to grow in terms of cloud computing. Thank you. Back to Annabelle.
Thank you. And as we wind up, we only have a minute, so we need to get feedback from the attendees. Where can they get you guys? Cliff and Janet, you were supposed to also tell us how to reach out to you after this in case we have any more questions. Cliff?
Great. I think I'm always available on my LinkedIn throughout. And I've seen a number of people have already reached out on LinkedIn. My profile on LinkedIn, I'm just called Cliff Orina. You can search for that. Give me a DM if you need an answer. And I share a lot about remote work on my LinkedIn. From there, I'll know the aspects of how to help and which area to help you with. So I'd prefer that you can reach me via LinkedIn. I'm not on X for some reasons, but it's very easy to engage me via LinkedIn.
Thank you, Cliff. I've also pasted the link from Janet. Janet, do you wanna say something on how people can reach you? And then we'll take a few questions again.
Okay, so you can find me on LinkedIn as well, and I've just shared my LinkedIn profile. So be free, you can find me there, and I'm always there to respond. I'm not very good with other social media platforms, including X. So just rely on that for now.
Thank you. I'll pass it to Munene just to run the Mentimeter, then we close with a quick round of questions. I see someone is asking, will AI take over? I also see a couple of questions about, let me see, they're a software developer. Does it mean that they have to have a project locally to support remote work? A couple of questions. So let's take the feedback session from Munene and then we answer these questions quickly as we close. Munene, are you able to share your screen?
I think I need some rights from the admin.
Try now.
Okay.
And Cliff and Janet, you can keep answering some of the questions that we may have missed on the Q&A section, just so that we kill 2 birds. Dennis, are you ready?
Okay, just setting it up. Okay, you should have it, everyone. All right, can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I will take you through a very short feedback session. So basically, you might have to open another tab so that you're able to join. Then from my end, I'll be controlling the slides as we go through the feedback session. Okay, so just work with me, you'll be fine. Okay, so go to menti.com, then use this code to join. So I'll give you a couple of minutes, and if someone can help me by sharing this on the chat, that would be nice. Okay, once you get in, you can just click the thumbs up icon on your screen. Yes, yes, so that you know we are moving. Okay, okay. See a couple of people joining in. Okay, the site is menti.com and the code is shared on the screen. If you can scan the QR as well to lead you to the same place. Okay, I see someone has shared it on the chat as well. So 1 more minute, then we start the feedback session. Okay, someone is saying amazing. Okay, we see your comments as well. Thank you for joining in. Okay, a couple of more seconds, then we continue. So don't worry about the movement of the screen. I'll be the one controlling the slides. Okay. Okay. I have my stopwatch, so I'll just give 30 more seconds. I see someone is already saying the session has been impactful. Thank you. Really wonderful and a defined session. Okay. So we'll take this feedback also along the way so that we're able to record it. So there'll still be time to share this. Okay, so I think we are good to go. So let's loosen up a bit. In one word, how are you feeling today? Let us know how you feel today. Okay, nice. Someone says they are happy, grateful, inspired. Hope our panelists can see this. Someone is saying they are tired. I know it's towards the end of the day. So thanks so much for making time. Someone says they're excited, awesome, energetic, happiest, super bubbly, overwhelmed. Okay, let's loosen up a bit. Informed. Someone says they're motivated. Someone says they're intrigued. Thanks so much for the feedback. I think we can move on. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the speakers? Okay, so we're going to take a minute on this one, and my timer is on. Okay, so on the last question where we have suggestions, maybe you can also share why you are maybe giving a 10, maybe a 9 what can improve, maybe a 6, what were the aspects that you did not enjoy? Okay, I think something went wrong with the screen. Okay, Annabelle, maybe you can just confirm you have the screen.
Yes, you're back now.
Okay, okay. So I was saying on the last question, you can share in why maybe you are giving a certain rating, and so that we can be able to see where to improve on our next webinar. Okay, next slide. So exactly, this one is an open-ended. We didn't want to close it down. So any area you feel we could improve on, please just put it in a short sentence. Someone says low voice and breakage should be checked on. I think this is also something across board with all online platforms when it comes to deliverability. But sure, this is something we can look into and see how to improve. Timekeeping, time management. Okay, we hear you. We look into that. Audibility and speed. Okay, we see that and we'll look into it. A little bit longer time to cover more topics. Someone also says more time, especially in the Q&A segment. Someone says it's a 10 for me. They articulated the questions properly. Okay. We see your comments. In terms of sharing links, kindly use the chat as it is easier to take notes. All right, we see that feedback. Someone says, you guys are okay. Personally, I feel I have some new energy in me to continue looking for jobs. All right, someone is feeling motivated. Turn on camera for the speakers so that we can see them. I'll let Annabelle handle that later when she's back. After graduation, learners should be checked on with real-world projects. Okay. The masterclass should more of a video and not audio. Okay. I think we'll just go to the next slide. All of this will be captured and we will peruse through it later to find solutions and other suggestions towards our next spaces. Okay. Which other topics would you like us to introduce in future? So today we are talking about securing a remote job. What else would you like to see from us in the coming webinars? Right, someone says cybersecurity, again, data analytics, securing startup fundings. Okay. I know Annabelle can see this. So this feedback will be acted on. Okay. So someone says cybersecurity ought to be relevant in the market today, machine learning, robotics. All right. I think this is something we have also had previously in the community. I think I'll look for you personally and share the link to the recording. But we are registering the interest towards that as well. I see a lot of data analytics, AI and academic research, cloud computing. I think we have cloud computing today. So if there's a gap, maybe you can reach out to our panelists and through the channels she has provided and probably engage her more. Right, funding startups. Okay, keep them coming. But we move to the next slides in a few. Blockchain, machine learning, cybersecurity. Okay. So this is our last question for tonight. Do you have any other question you feel you have not captured? Or you have a question for us, you have a suggestion for us, feel free to put it in a short sentence.
Even as you do the questions and suggestions, those were really great points, and we will definitely take into account. And I think it's by your suggestions that we keep on improving. So thank you so much for taking your time to even take the feedback session. Um, as we go back to the panelists, I want to take maybe, I don't know whether we are able to unmute, two questions or comments from the panelists. Oh, sorry, not panelists, from the attendees. And I'll pick one lady and one gent. So you can raise your hand if you have a burning comment or something to ask our panelists. And then we go on with the feedback session as Budene winds up. So just raise your hand and we'll give you a chance to speak or comment.
Okay, did someone say they wanted to know if they can get the recording of the meeting? I think this is something we always do. We will share the recording definitely after the webinar.
Annabelle, I've allowed two people to speak, Okoth and I think it's True Phone. Yeah.
Hello? Hi.
Hello,
Hello?
we can hear you.
Okay. I'm very excited for this session. It was really very great. I'm very I'm very happy for this journal. I hope from you, I will keep on learning from you. Of course, I got a scholarship from PRP, so this session was very good. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and even just for making time to be here.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Harrison?
Okay. Hi guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm grateful for this session. I'm also thankful for the opportunity from the PLP community. I also got a scholarship for the ongoing program. So the session has been awesome, and in fact, it aligns with whatever I'm doing. You see that at the moment, I'm a freelance data scientist, and now the course that the PLP is going to offer is going to be an addition to spur my career. So I'm very grateful to meet very awesome individuals this night, and I believe that I'm going to grow further as we're going to interact with the ongoing sessions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harrison. I think you being here is just the start of a very successful career. So pat yourself on the back a little bit, and thank you for making time. So I see we have so many people who want to say something to the panelists, but we also have to keep time. It's one of the areas you've told us to improve on. So I'll pass it over to you, Cliff. Any final words, any final questions that you may want to answer, and then to you, Janet, and then we close off. Munene, you may go to the next slide of your feedback session just so people can keep interacting with it.
Okay, thanks so much for the time.
I believe I should say my parting shot. My parting shot is that number one, whenever you're not busy with paid work as a remote worker, you need to ensure that you're working on your portfolio, and that whenever that portfolio is needed to put you in the limelight, it has all that it takes. Then lastly is that you need to diversify your skills. As a developer, you already have a head start, a very strong head start in the field of tech. and therefore diversifying to get to know more. I'm happy that there are a lot of people here who are itching to get to learn about cybersecurity. It should spread even into other tech fields so that you are able to continuously provide different solutions to clients. With different solutions means you have a variety of clients who can pay you, and that also means that you do not have a lot of low seasons. So I think that is where I leave it. Thank you, and back to you, Annabelle.
Thank you so much, Cliff. Janet?
First, thank you so much for inviting me to be here to share my insights. I hope that it has been impactful, and also to everyone who's in this call, thank you so much for asking questions and just feeling free to engage with us. We've met for the first time, but we have been able to share some of the resources that we have, and also you asking questions. My parting shot is online work is work. It is real and it pays. Write it somewhere. It is real, it is work, and it pays. Yeah, thank you, and back to you, Annabelle.
Thank you so much. And I think even as someone who was hosting, I've learned quite a bit. Like some key takeaways, you need to be disciplined. You need to know how to communicate with your clients. You need to keep your portfolios active, your social media, your LinkedIn, your GitHubs, just ensuring that you remain active and ready to talk to your client, remain online. It helps with your rating on the what are they called? The freelancer websites. I think Chesang and Cliff, you have done a really great job in breaking down such a complex topics in a very short amount of time. If you want maybe a part 2 of this masterclass, feel free to join the community and let us know. There were QR codes on how to join. I see Adela is still asking how they can make a portfolio on cloud computing. Make sure you reach out to Janet. She has just given her social media handle, or I think you can find her on LinkedIn at Janet Chesang, and also Cliff at Cliff Orina. I hope I'm not giving the wrong names for your LinkedIn. Make sure to connect with them. I also want to thank the team behind the scenes. Joel, you have done a really great job in summarizing some of the important points that the panelists spoke about. So thank you so much. There's also the team from Knowledge. Susan, do you wanna close as you recognize some of the great effort that your team has done?
Okay, thank you, Annabelle. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Charles. I've been able to learn a lot from this session. I think also me, there's some things I was weak at. I never knew the real impact of continuously updating your, let me say, your profile on LinkedIn. And I never also knew the real impact of continuously updating let me say, your employer on what you're doing. So that's something I have personally learned from this session. So love to personally thank Joel for the support he has given on the chat box. This is not my team, but they're my learners. I've seen and Sharon and Martha really helping out also with the Otter AI system. We have Michael. Michael, thank you so much. We have Mr. Charles. Thank you for even creating time and being here. We also have one active learner that I'm really impressed with is Faraja. Faraja, thank you for continuously persisting and asking the questions throughout. I'm just so grateful that all of you stayed in till this time, and you are very responsive and you asked very intriguing questions. So thank you so much for heeding to our call. Back to you, Annabelle.
Okay, and thank you everyone for making time. This has been really great and insightful. I've reshared the links to get to Cliff, but you can also type it down. I've also I'm resharing the link to Janet's profile on LinkedIn. Make sure to reach out to her. All those questions about cloud computing, she'll be the one to help you get into it. And with that, thank you, Munene, for doing Mentimeter and getting the feedback for us. We'll keep on improving and ensure that we take into account everything that has been raised. For the people who joined late, my name is Annabelle Wafula. I'm the community manager at Powerland Project, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you in the community channels. And I hope you all have a lovely night. Thank you, Cliff and Janet, for this very special session. And yeah, good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.